Shalom Family, welcome to Discerning Minds. We're going to get into some articles today. Today is May 5th, 2024, and we're so glad to have you with us. Before we get into some articles that we have to show you, I just want to let you know we do have a new video that we just released on Friday called Emotions and Our Health, Part 2. And this time we're actually going to be discussing fear in that video. So if you haven't watched that video yet, take a look. It'll definitely we believe it'll be a help to you. And if you know anyone else who struggles with fear, we really get into the emotions and how it affects our health. And when it comes to fear really impacts our health in many ways. So if that's interest to you, please take a look at that. And if you know anyone else that it may impact as well, feel free to share that with them as well. All right. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into the first video that we have.
Yo, what in the world is going on with the weather? These are the storms since April 25th and how they've gone over. Do you notice anything funny? One of the models is even posting this, which could possibly happen. But again, I want you to notice it. All of these storms are starting in the same place and then they go the same diagonal way past the Great Lakes up there. Something else took that same exact path, as well as all the storms from a month before. That path, my friend, is the eclipse path. All week, next week, we're going to have ridiculously crazy storms, and they all go the same way. What if this trend that we're seeing in the middle of America, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Iowa, etc., what if this trend continues? Why is it all the models are showing it is going to continue? Even the mayor of Oklahoma said he had not seen that much destruction. And then we have some future models popping out like this. That is unheard of, you guys. There is some kind of energetic symbolism based on where all these storms are going. And then we're having all these warnings from like Nostradamus and other people about something potentially happening in California. And not only in the weather, ever since the 8th, we've had massive breaks in the Earth's resonance from the Schumann frequency. And regardless what forecast you're looking at, you see a really powerful, odd anomaly storm forming and originating the same exact place as the others and going the same exact way as the others. 2024 has a lot in store. All these volcanoes. In the last week or two, we've had major floods in Saudi Arabia, China, Brazil, and Texas, everywhere. And all these floods are any indication, I say, we're in trouble.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I mean, a lot of interesting things happening across the world, happening in the U.S., happening all over the place. And, I think one of the interesting things about that is it's, as he mentioned, goes across the path of the eclipse. And there's some other interesting things, and we've talked about in the past about the eclipse and things, different cities and impacts, and seeing the sign between last year's partial eclipse and then the one in 2017. So there's a lot of interesting things happening. More things to come, we're sure. So just continue to keep your head on a swivel and keep your eyes looking up towards heaven. All right, let's take a look at this next one. It says an aerospace engineering company has designed a glass pod that can be attached to existing aircraft. The pod has 2 seats and allows passengers to enjoy a 360-degree view during flight. Let's take a look at this. I'm not going to play the sound because it's really loud. And I'll just take a look here. I think this would be kind of interesting to be on this. I don't know what your thoughts are in going up to something like this. If it were available, I kind of think it'd be cool to see a bird's eye view above the aircraft and almost seeing what the pilots see, and then even more. I think it'd be pretty interesting. I know some people may have fear of heights. If so, definitely check out that video we just released around emotions and our health and talking about fear. So what do you think? Would you do that type of thing? I know many wouldn't, but I maybe would try it. But then maybe not with all the things happening in aircraft these days. So I might have to have a change of mind on that one. So this one's kind of interesting. It says never touch the third rail. I don't know why anybody would be sitting on the train tracks anyway, but let's take a look at this one here. It's a little graphic, but let's pull this up. And then you got that one girl trying to take selfies while those three are on there trying to get up from getting electrocuted. It's crazy, the minds of people these days. All right, next article from New York Post says zebras take over road in Washington State. Let's take a look here.
We are here in North Bend, and somebody has lost their zebras. What the hell? What is happening? Oh my God, please get away. Hi, buddy. Oh my God. What the is happening? What the hell?
I think those zebras were trying to get back to the zoo. They just wanted to ask somebody what direction to go. But yeah, it's kind of weird how those zebras are just roaming down the street like that. Let's take a look. Next article says warning as first American dolphin diagnosed with highly pathogenic bird flu. Now, how do they test this out? I wonder. It says a Florida dolphin was discovered with highly pathogenic bird flu, according to a study. This dolphin was the first citizen ever recorded with a highly pathogenic avian influenza virus, also known as HPAIV in North America. This discovery was made by University of Florida researchers, is detailed in a paper in the online journal Communications Biology. Let's see what this video here shows. All right, so let's talk about more around sea lions. I find it interesting, all these different animals that are coming up with bird flu. So it shows several were infected sea lions, that is 50 of them. Many found dead because with matching this bird flu. August, another 20 died. I'm just wondering what would make people decide, you know what, let's test this for bird flu when they're seals. I mean, it just seems strange to me. Even a grizzly bear and cat, which I think we might have an article about the cat later. Interesting. Okay, moving on. All right, it says Satanic Temple announces plans to deploy ministers in schools. The Satanic Temple, or TST, has announced plans to deploy its ministers as chaplains in schools across Oklahoma following the House's recent legislation. Senate Bill 36, which allows volunteer chaplains with educational institutions, passed the House and now awaits the Senate approval. So looks like some Satanists want to be chaplains in school so they can continue the indoctrination of students as if they're not indoctrinated enough. But now Satan has got his people in the schools, which I'm sure many of them are there already, but called their ministers to actually, I think, pass Satanism. So if that gets passed, I'm sure there'll be some Satanist chaplains in some of these schools in Oklahoma. I think it's kind of crazy because the enemy's not hiding, and he doesn't have to, because many people accept his ways and his beliefs anyway. So now there's no need for him to hide because he's just right out in the open and nobody's fighting it. It's kind of sad. All right. Next article says Walmart recalls more than 8 tons of ground beef, including in New York, over E. coli fears. It says food manufacturing giant Cargill has recalled more than 8 tons of ground beef sold at Walmart stores, including in New York State, over potential E. coli contamination. The manufacturer on Wednesday recalled approximately 16,243 pounds of raw ground beef, product that may be contaminated with E. coli. I wonder, so much of the food that's out there these days is being injected with different things. It's kind of what we said over the past few weeks when we've talked about other things being recalled, where we need to really be praying and seeking the Most High when it comes to the types of things we go out and purchase. So please make sure you pray. Ask the Most High to lead you when you buy things, lead you on where to go, lead you on where you're supposed to be, so you're at the right place at the right time, and so on. So we really need His direction, especially in these days that we're in, because there's so much deception that's going on. There's so much of an attack on the food supply. And just like, actually, I think it's a coming up article. There's so many different man-made chemicals that are inside foods these days that are truly just impacting our bodies for the negative. If you want to read more about that, you can check that out on Daily News. All right, let's take a look at this article here, or this video. It says, "Do you even know what you consume?" Let's check this out.
There were 21 drugs pumped into cows that were harmful to the human body. This was in the 60s. And he was saying that because these drugs are in the meat, that you become addicted to it. When I said McDevils, everybody was like, ha, ha, ha. I said Taco Hell, ha, ha, ha. Well, black people got an emotional attachment to this Chick-fil-A spot. So when I said Chick-fil-A, well, I had to get extra security. So I went and looked up Popeye's chicken sandwich. Come to find out, they have over 40 ingredients in the Popeye's chicken sandwich. 32 of them were man-made chemicals. And I said, well, let's see what Chick-fil-A has. Over 50 chemicals in the chicken sandwich. Over 40 of them were man-made chemicals. I said, so hell, this is a dope sandwich. So they really are flipping birds over there. They have you wanting the food not for nutritional value, but because you become addicted by the MSG and the other chemicals that they've inserted in, that also are immune system disruptors. They ill affect your brain, mess with your arteries, and any foreign substance automatically activates the immune system, which means our bodies, when we eat this kind of food, they are fighting an unnecessary battle. So when the real battles of disease show up, the systems are too worn out. So I end up coming into the teachings and started, we are what we think, but we also are what we eat. To want to buy good produce, fresh produce, I end up becoming a vegetarian. And I can say that I feel now at the age of 48 better than I felt at the age of 15.
The truth is,
Wow. When it comes to even, talk about food often, but when it comes to fast food, we definitely have to be watchful. I mean, there's so many preservatives and so many different toxins and chemicals. I mean, you heard all the man-made chemicals that are in a, Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich, and some of these other places as well, for that matter. But that's why we need to pray over our food. That's why we need to, before we even get to praying over our food, should we even be buying the thing that we're getting ready to eat? It starts there. But none of these fast food places, I mean, they have to preserve the food so it lasts longer. So a lot of times they put stuff in there. They put the GMOs in there so that it makes you want more and more of these things. So I would encourage you, if you eat these different things, to start praying and asking the Father what you should be doing concerning eating, concerning your health, concerning what you're putting on your body, because a lot of these things are not made for your benefit. They're made for your destruction. So we just encourage you to seek the Father when you purchase things, when you eat things, when you put things on your body, because a lot of this stuff goes right into us and causes all kinds of health issues. All right, here's the next one from CNET. Says, this bank became the first to fail in the U.S. this year. Here's what borrowers need to know. The collapse may conjure comparisons to the string of bank failures last spring, but here's how it's different. It says the Philadelphia-based Republic First Bank collapsed last week, the first U.S. bank to fail this year, resurrecting memories of the three Silicon Valley banks that made headlines last spring when they collapsed. It says the Pennsylvania Department of Banking and Security seized Republic First Bank as it looked for a potential buyer after months of problems, including being delisted by NASDAQ. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, or FDIC, was appointed as receiver and entered into agreement with Fulton Bank based in Lancaster, PA, to buy that bank. So Banks are already failing. I have heard more talks of additional ones to come. So just be watchful where you put your funds, where you put your bills, because some of these banks are collapsing. Of course, they say at the bottom here that if your money is in an FDIC or NCU type of bank, your funds are secure up to 250,000, I believe. However, you don't want to have to struggle to try to get that money if your bank, particularly that you work with, does go under. So just keep that in mind as we're in these times, because the dollar's collapsing, banks are collapsing. So much of the society is collapsing, all by design. But just be aware and just hear what the Most High is leading you to do. Here's another one. We'll take a look at this. There's a video in here. It's like 14 minutes. We're not going to look at all of it, but it says why hundreds of U.S. banks may be at risk of failure. Let's take a little bit of time just to take a look at a couple minutes of this video here. I guess I should put some sound on it. There we go.
Hundreds of small and regional banks across the U.S. are feeling stressed. More than 280 banks face the dual threat of commercial real estate loans and potential losses tied to higher interest rates.
There's no doubt in my mind there's going to be more bank failures.
Or at least dip below their minimum capital requirement.
There will be bank failures, but this is not the big banks.
Rapid interest rate hikes can mean borrowers suddenly face more expensive loan payments. And if they can't afford to pay up, they may default on their loans. A record $929 billion worth of loans are coming due, aka maturing, in 2024, driven by mass extensions of loans originally due in 2023. Regulators are working behind the scenes with potentially at-risk lenders.
They're issuing sort of confidential, under-the-radar reports saying you got to raise your capital.
We'll see a lot fewer bank failures than we would otherwise if we're successful in attracting private capital to recapitalize these banks.
These are banks that probably need to raise capital, or they could try to get acquired by a stronger bank.
However, banking sector acquisitions have dwindled. These stressed banks could have big implications for the U.S. economy.
In 1 year since the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank,
of course, we're seeing cracks form once again a year later.
Both major and regional bank indexes are still struggling since 2023's bank failures.
I think most of them are just fine, but confidence is everything in banking. People start losing confidence, and even the healthy banks can be adversely impacted.
Here's why hundreds of small banks may be at risk of failure, and how insolvency can be avoided.
All right, we'll stop right there. If you want to take a look at the rest of that video, check that out on CNBC. All right, it says Elon Musk sounds alarm about America's national debt, warning that without action, the dollar will be worth nothing. Wealthy business magnate Elon Musk is sounding the alarm about America's massive national debt, warning that unless action is taken to tackle the problem, the U.S. dollar will become worthless. It says the country's national debt is more than $34 trillion, according to this site here. Responding to Musk, Ed Krastenstein wrote, "The problem is that no administration wants to take on the national debt issue because the long-term fix is likely a short-term detriment to the economy." Let's see what else is here. If the dollar is going to collapse, whether it's this year or next year, remains to be seen. This is all by design, not just the U.S., but other countries across the world are, their economy is going to collapse as well, so that this one world financial system can take place, so that this one world religion can take place, this one world government. All this stuff is by design, is planned. So when it comes to our finances, we really have to use discernment as to what we should be doing, what us as children of the Most High, what should we do in this present time while we still can? Because things are changing, and they're changing rapidly. So we have to be aware, and we have to hear the Most High so that we can know exactly what we need to be doing at this present time to prepare for the things to come. So just keep that in mind. All right, it says magnitude 2.6 aftershock rattles New Jersey as residents say it sounded like a truck was driving by. Now, this is different than the one that took place a while back. But here it says New Jersey has been rocked by more than 150 aftershocks since the April 5th earthquake. A magnitude 2.6 aftershock rattled the Garden State on Wednesday morning. More than 42 million people from Philadelphia to New York felt the first quake. A magnitude 2.6 aftershock has rattled New Jersey on the first day of May after a dramatic earthquake shook parts of the East Coast in early April. I think there's a video here. Let's see. Okay, here it is. Let's take a look at this. You can see the building shaking here in New York City. There's some other parts of things we'll see in just a moment as it switches over.
And when this happened, you and I did not feel it, but some folks down there did. Jack Keane was on the air, and this is what happened. Let's watch.
Much for great talking to you. Great talk. Thank you, sir. Right, Secretary of State Blinken. Much for great talking to you. Great talk. Thank you, sir. Right, Secretary of State Blinken.
Okay, that's pretty obvious.
The building just shake it, guys. Anybody felt anything? You're across the street for the UN. Oh, the building shake it.
Brother, New York is having an earthquake. I swear to God, New York is having an earthquake right now.
His mouth is kind of filthy. On the one.
For 600 people. Women stood in line for 3 hours to make use of it. Schools normally form a spine of protection for children, a place where children can seek humanitarian services and normality. Go ahead. Education is... Is that an earthquake?
Yeah.
Oh, education is...
You're making the ground shake.
Education is, in many ways...
Probably with all those lies. Yeah.
Life-saving.
Is this an earthquake? Yo, is this an earthquake? Yo, what the? Yo, am I in an earthquake?
All right. Moving on. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever been part of an earthquake. I can't say that I have. It looks kind of crazy, though. I don't want to be part of one. All right, so here's some information. I'm sure you've seen several of the videos through the past week with all these college campuses and violence with these protests. Here it says over 2,000 pro-Palestinian protesters have been arrested at campuses throughout the U.S. Students are calling on universities to boycott companies that are working with Israel or are in support of the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict. Let's take a look at this.
Do not run.
enforcement didn't decide to step in when people were being beaten with metal bats, maced, yelling very threatening things, very disgusting things, when in reality, everybody that's in the encampment, that's not what they're there for. It has been a peaceful protest.
Violent protest is not protected. Peaceful protest is. Destroying property is not a peaceful protest. It's against the law. Vandalism, trespassing, breaking windows, shutting down campuses, forcing the cancellation of classes and graduations. None of this is a peaceful protest.
All right. So what do you all think about that? All these protests going on, all these schools across the country. I think it's interesting how they just all seem to just pop up around the same time. Read something recently about a lot of people being paid to go to these different schools and start these protests. Excuse me. I see this, it seems like it's by design. It's almost like look over here at this, so you don't see what's happening on this side. So I don't know if there's something happening at this present time. I'm trying to do some digging in to see some more of what's happening, but it definitely seems like something's happening on one side. So it's like, look over here on this, at this thing going on, so you don't see what's actually happening over there. But let's move on and look at some other stuff here. It says DeSantis says, take your fake meat elsewhere, and signs bill banning lab-grown meat. He said, we're not doing that in the state of Florida, DeSantis said before he signed SB 1084. Let's take a look here at what this shows.
The USDA looks to further crack down on a bird flu outbreak by zeroing in on beef safety. In response to the crisis, the USDA began testing lactating dairy cows for bird flu before they can be shipped across state lines. But what about the beef? The agency announced plans to analyze beef samples using PCR tests. It will also examine how different cooking temperatures affect the virus in ground beef. Last week, bird flu was detected in a lung tissue sample of an asymptomatic dairy cow that did not make its way into the food supply. The move comes as other countries have taken precautions with beef. Colombia has moved to restrict imports of beef and beef products from the United States with confirmed cases of bird flu in dairy cows. Still, the USDA says the meat supply is safe. Their latest efforts involve collecting ground beef samples from affected states for testing. There have been cases in at least 9 states at this time, but has yet to set a start date for ground beef testing. If viral particles are discovered, the agency says it'll make moves to address it promptly.
All right, that wasn't talking about what I thought it was, but interesting to know. Okay, it says here, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis wants to save our beef. At a press conference in Wauchula or something like that, Florida, DeSantis signed a bill that would outlaw the manufacture and distribution of lab-grown meat in the state, a threat to Florida's agricultural. He said, take your fake lab-grown meat elsewhere. Yeah, I wouldn't mess with that food either. Or it's not food, that fake stuff. It's not food at all. But it's good to know someone is not allowing it. Let's see if there's more states to do the same. It says here, what happened inside Area 51? Website creator raided by feds thinks he has an idea. Let's see what that idea is. Or maybe not.
They don't want you to see it. You're not going to see it.
That's exactly right. They have years and years and decades of experience hiding things.
Naturalized citizen Jorg Arnu caught Area 51 fever 26 years ago. For 2 decades, his website, dreamlandresorts.com, has been a digital gathering place for aerospace enthusiasts, aviation watchers, and some who've worked at the best-known secret base in the world. Participants swap stories, post photos, and make educated guesses about what's going on out there in the Nevada desert. By now, the world knows about some of the projects that were born at the Groom Lake facility, the U-2 spy plane, early versions of the Blackbirds, then the F-117 Nighthawks, and stealth helicopters. Jorg Arnu's readers get occasional hints about odd objects zipping through the skies, but big secrets can and are being kept.
Look at some of the exotic planes like the Tacit Blue that was developed in total secrecy, was flown in secrecy. Then all of a sudden they put it in a museum and said, yeah, we had this for a while.
But too much secrecy can sometimes backfire. Area 51 was obscure, largely unknown in the 1980s when the Air Force illegally seized 89,000 acres of public land around the base to hide something.
Actually, 9 flying saucers flying.
In 1989, KLAS TV put the base on the map for good, with allegations that alien technology might be stashed out there. The designation for Area 51 suddenly disappeared from maps. The government stopped acknowledging it even had a base out there. Too much secrecy only fueled more public interest. Tens of thousands of people have made the trek to the desert to check it out. In the early 2000s, an Area 51 watchdog named Chuck Clark revealed to us the military had hidden sensor systems on public land, miles outside the boundaries, to warn the base of anyone approaching. Clark's Rachel home was then raided by the Joint Terrorism Task Force, a harbinger of what later happened to Jorg Arnu, whose homes in Rachel and Las Vegas were targeted by federal agents in late 2022, with he and his girlfriend, Linda Hello, held at gunpoint, presumably for something that appeared on his website, though he's never been told what he did that crossed the line.
What exactly am I accused of? You're treating me like a hardened criminal, like a terrorist. When they came in here, they asked me, are there any booby traps in my house? I said, booby traps? What are you expecting?
Arnu agrees the military needs a place to test secret technology. When 2 million people vowed to storm Area 51 back in 2019, he led the opposition to the event. But when he sees things from public lands, he takes note. Arnu says the recently revealed B-21 Raider had some of its systems tested in the Nevada skies, long before the public knew it existed. He thinks the rumors about a successor to the SR-71 spy plane are likely true, but doesn't know if the new version is actually called SR-72. The main focus these days, he suspects, drones, unmanned warplanes, and jamming tech.
That's one of the big things out there. They are flying drones, obviously. The Russians, Chinese work on stuff to jam our drones. We work on stuff to jam their drones. Then the next step is, how do we make the drone communication so secure that jamming is not effective anymore?
The public isn't likely to see much of this, though. Arnu says Area 51 has its own Area 51, an inaccessible valley north of Groom Lake that can be seen, but only if you have your own satellite.
The really secret stuff, and they have a whole empty valley just north of Groom Lake, and they have the mountain range where they can pretty much play with anything they want. Nobody can see it.
It's booming out there.
Oh yeah, Area 51 is not going anywhere.
George Knapp, 8 News Now.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I've never had a desire to dig into alien type stuff. I mean, I don't think there's technically aliens. I think they're like demons and fallen messengers and stuff like that. It would be interesting to see what they have at Area 51. I'm not saying I would ever try to go, just it should be interesting to be a fly on the wall and see what all the technology they have over there. All right. It says second Boeing whistleblower dies suddenly after claiming safety flaws were ignored. Let's see here. A whistleblower who accused Boeing of ignoring safety flaws in the 737 MAX airplane has died. Joshua Dean, a former Spirit Aerosystems quality auditor, claimed he was fired for flagging concerns about lax standards at the company's manufacturing plant in Wichita, Kansas. His sudden death at the age of 45 on Tuesday came after suffering from a fast-spreading infection, according to his family and lawyer. Let's see what else. There was another guy that something happened to him a month or so ago. Yeah, here we go. It says John Barnett, a 62-year-old who was also represented by Brian Knowles, was found dead with an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound in March. He had been in the middle of a lawsuit against Boeing after suffering retaliation for exposing safety problems with the Boeing 787 Dreamliner. So some of the stuff is interesting. Let's see. I guess when you work at Boeing and you want to raise a flag, make sure you got a safe place to be, because it looks like, it seems like stuff's happening to people who raise concerns about things that are happening at this company. That's all I'll say. That's my thoughts. All right, here's another one about this whole bird flu stuff. It says more than half of cats on farm where bird flu infected cows died after drinking milk. I find it interesting. I mean, where people are actually testing all these different animals, like why are they testing the cats? I mean, I don't know. Just it's interesting, not in a good way, but just interesting. It says here, Wednesday, May 1st, in yet another sign that bird flu is spreading widely among mammals, a new report finds more than half of cats at the first Texas dairy farm to have cows test positive for bird flu this spring died after drinking raw milk. Another thing about this whole, this is supposed to be one of the best types I hear to drink. I find it interesting that it's after drinking this type of thing, because from what I've heard, that type of milk is one of the best to actually drink. So is it a thing to try to say, hey, don't mess with this because, there's potential for bird flu in there? But who knows? Published Tuesday in the Emerging Infectious Disease Journal, the report details the early stages of the investigation into the spread of bird flu among the country's dairy farms. So, we saw something about cows and cats, and now I think there's another one, some other animal. But it seems like it's happening in so many different animals these days. It's kind of strange. All right, let's take a look at the next one. It says flood watch extended for Houston as more heavy rain is expected throughout the weekend. Let's take a look.
Kathy Park joins me now. Kathy, this flood threat is far from over.
Lester, that's right. As you can see, the fast-moving floodwaters are still moving through neighborhoods like this one in Texas. Typically, this would be a backyard, but it has been transformed into a lake several feet deep.
Tonight, millions in Texas in the crosshairs of catastrophic flooding and dangerous tornadoes.
Oh, my gosh.
In the past 24 hours, dramatic lightning strikes like this one caught on camera.
Oh, my God, he's going in the water. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
And nearly a foot of rain in the Houston area, stranding drivers, even washing away roads and part of this nursery.
It's hard to tell exactly how much we've lost, but it'll be estimated hundreds of thousands of dollars of product washed away.
In Harris County, officials declaring a disaster and urging residents to evacuate Thursday night or prepare to stay for days.
This threat is ongoing and it's going to get worse. It is not your typical river flood.
Dozens have been rescued so far, and one family escaped by swimming to safety as the rushing waters filled their home.
When I seen it lift our refrigerator up and I could sit on it and float around my house like a surfboard, that's when I told her it was time to go.
14 rivers are now at major flood stage, including the San Jacinto.
So if you open your front door, I mean, the river is right there. It is.
Evelyn Lowry says she's still repairing the damage from 2017, brought on by Hurricane Harvey.
How tough is it to see this type of damage again?
I'm just crestfallen. I don't know if we can get back up again. I really don't.
Now she and so many others are reliving the nightmare as they brace for more severe weather expected to last through the weekend. Kathy Park, NBC News, Conroe, Texas.
We see this happening all over the world. There's flooding, excessive rain. Talked about the cloud seeding that took place in Dubai, all the flooding that took place there and all the heavy rains. It's happening in so many places. So much is being destroyed. And we're definitely in those end days for sure. Here it says first photo of Texas farm worker who caught bird flu shows bleeding in his eyes. It says a farmer who caught bird flu appears to be the first known case of mammal to human transmission, according to scientists. But yeah, look at that. I don't know what that is. Blood looks like blood vessels maybe broke. I don't know, but it just doesn't look good at all. Here it says a farm worker experienced bleeding on his eyeballs after being infected with bird flu. It says the first image of a Texas farm worker infected with bird flu from a cow shows he suffered bleeding in his eyeballs. It is thought to be the first known case of mammal to human transmission and comes as the Centers or the CDC warned bird flu viruses pose this type of potential. The dairy worker attended a hospital in March after experiencing painful red weeping eyes, that was the blood vessels that burst. His eyes began to swell up, though he had no fever, and an examination showed his lungs were clear, according to a letter published in the New England Journal of Medicine on Friday. More and more of this. So is this the next thing? Is there something else to come? We've remember the stuff that took place from 2020 on. I'm not going to mention the name here, but I'm sure you all know what we're talking about. All right, here's one. It says, boy, 6 years old, forced to run on treadmill by killer dad for being too fat. So it says here, content warning, the following video contains material some viewers may find distressing. Let's see. I mean, it's kind of sad. Why would you force your child to run? He's not even big. I mean, that's sad. And then just keeps forcing him to get on there. All right, I'm gonna stop it. If you want to watch the rest, you can. It's on metro.co.uk. There's a story I don't want to show anymore. It's disturbing for sure, but I know this guy's in court, I believe now. I think I saw something about, but it's tragic and it's sad. I mean, just to continue to force your child to do something. I mean, like it makes no sense at all. It's sad. So if you want to look at that, you can do that there. Okay, here's one that says over 80,000 pounds of deli meat recalled across multiple states due to lacking inspection. It says no food product is immune from a recall, not even ready to eat deli meat. Cashapp North America Incorporated, a North Jersey-based firm, is recalling close to 100,000 pounds of sliced Stockmeyer prosciutto produced in Germany for not being inspected properly. Retailers across the country include stores in California, Connecticut, Florida, Illinois, Pennsylvania, Texas, Virginia, and Washington sold the recalled product. All right, again, this is where we have to be continually in prayer concerning the things we eat. We see this happening too often. I mean, it's almost, I'm not going to say it's daily, maybe it is daily, but at the very least, we see stuff weekly about foods either being recalled or tainted with something. And I wouldn't be surprised if we continue to see this. So again, pray. Ask the Most High to lead you where to go, what to get, how you should be eating, and what you should be doing to put, and what you should be actually putting in your body. So just want to encourage you to seek the Most High wherever you go and whatever you do. Make sure you're seeking Him. All right, it says AI could replace some pilots flying U.S. warplanes in the future. I think we showed something about the idea of this that happened the last couple weeks ago, but here's some more released information about this recently. Let's take a look here.
This is a rare look at the future of the U.S. Air Force in combat. It's called Vista, an unmanned fighter jet piloted by artificial intelligence, flying head-to-head in a dogfight with a manned F-16, even outperforming the human pilot.
Defense officials say the U.S. is the only military in the world with this technology, successfully flying a jet with artificial intelligence. And this is the first time cameras have been allowed to see it.
Up till now, there has not been a pathway for machine learning agents to control the flight critical systems of an aircraft.
On Thursday, the Air Force Secretary made an unannounced trip to Edwards Air Force Base.
There is a penalty.
Suiting up and going for a ride in a mock dogfight, flying nearly the speed of sound, separated by just 1,000 feet from the manned fighter jet. He says the technology still needs work.
We still got a ways to go with it, but making good progress.
But some test pilots aren't sure.
This artificial intelligence, this robot, and they're so new, and we don't really understand fully how they work.
So you don't trust the aircraft to be flown by AI at this point?
No, not really.
Like drones, they could fly ahead of manned aircraft during combat, conducting strikes too dangerous for human pilots. But unlike drones, the computer will be in charge, not an operator thousands of miles away. And even though humans will still be involved in making key decisions, this raises serious questions.
Is that a possibility, really, this kind of technology going rogue?
I think it's too early to say it is or it isn't.
Do you ever see a point of fully autonomous weapons? So U.S. Air Force aircraft that are fully autonomous weapons?
We're not going to unleash killer robots on the battlefield to kill anything they want. That's not going to happen. We're going to make sure that we comply with the laws of war.
Kendall says the future is not far away. AI could be in cockpits in the next few years. Computers flying missions once considered too complicated for anything but the human mind, soon changing the face of combat aviation. Courtney Cuby, NBC News, Edwards Air Force Base.
Wow. So maybe coming to a sky near you, AI flying above our heads. All right. So next article says 1 in 4 Americans fear losing their job this year. What's causing it? In a surge in unemployment just around the corner, automation and continuing economic uncertainty have a quarter of Americans workers feeling the pressure at their place of work and worrying that their jobs may disappear this year. The new survey of 2,000 employed adults examined how workers see themselves in their current roles, finding that many believe they'll receive a pink slip sooner rather than later. Their concerns stem from distress about the job market, which is about 25%, and knowing that they work in an unstable business or industry. Around 22% are saying that. So I wonder also how much, I mean, it talks about automation and things. So I wonder how much is related to AI and just AI going to, and it talks about some artificial intelligence concerns. So, AI is definitely taking over different roles and different jobs that many would do in the past that now AI is just doing it faster and cheaper because now they're not having to pay an employee. So I can certainly see why many could be concerned about the things to come this year, among other things, I'm sure, with just the economy and things like that. But again, we trust the Most High. We look to Him and we trust Him to lead, guide, and direct and to provide for us as His children. So please don't fear, don't worry. And if there is fear and concern, just take that to the Most High. He definitely will help you. Trust in His goodness, His love, His provision, His compassion for you. He will take care of you as His child. Okay, this here says Republicans voting for bill that could make the Bible illegal. Outrages MAGA. It says MAGA conservatives voice outrage at congressional Republicans voting for the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act over concerns that would make the Bible illegal. Congress on Wednesday passed a bill which would require the Department of Education to use the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance working definition of anti-Semitism when enforcing anti-discrimination laws. It comes as colleges across the U.S. have seen pro-Palestinian protests that critics say at times have allegedly veered into anti-Semitism. So, looks like I don't think they've passed that yet, but let's see what this says here. It says while the definition of the bill does classify the idea that Jewish people were involved in killing Jay as anti-Semitic, it does not make the Bible legal. So that's good. No ban as of yet, but it probably will be coming, whether it's through this bill or another. So that's why we must store the word in our hearts, because yes, they can take the physical word out of our hands, but they can never take it from our heart. So, we did a video I don't know when it was, last year sometime, I think, around getting the word in our hearts and how, so many people have Bibles, but not so many people read them. So it's important that we spend the time meditating on His word so we can learn about the Father, so we can know the Father, so that we can revere the Father, so that we can trust in Him. So, if you have a Bible, read it. If you don't, get you one. Get you an app. It's free. So many apps are out there these days. But there's definitely access to Bible. So get the word in your heart. You need it. We need it. This is a gross one here. It says possessed murder suspect ate man's face and eyeball and ear after killing him. This is the guy here. I mean, he must have been possessed. I mean, it's that's just not normal. It says a man has been accused of killing a convenience store customer before eating his face in Las Vegas. A lot of just the things going on in this world are just it's madness. I mean, I remember hearing, I think there was a guy in Florida like several years back that was, I don't know what was going on with him, but he was just eating people. I mean, I don't know if they called it like some zombie thing, but it was several years back. I don't remember how long ago, but it's crazy. So it says Colin Check, 29, reportedly tackled Kenneth Brown to the ground on Las Vegas Boulevard near Charleston Boulevard just before 5 a.m. Sunday. CBS Austin reported that a 7-Eleven employee told police a man had punched a customer in the parking lot before tackling the man and smashing his head on the concrete. About 45 minutes later, police received another call from witnesses reporting a man fitting the same description now at a bus stop eating another man's face. I mean, that's gross. I mean, what is going on with people these days? And I'm sure there's some possession of this or just obviously something wrong with the brain, but that's gross. Let me just move on. All right, it says Marines jump overboard when they see what's in the water. So what is it they saw? All right, so it says during what was a typical naval operation, the crew spotted an unusual sight in the water. a sight so astonishing that it compelled them to take immediate action. As they drew closer, they could hardly believe their eyes. It wasn't a sea creature they were accustomed to seeing in the deep blue like whales or sharks. No, it was something entirely out of the ordinary, an elephant. Wowzers. Okay. It says the unexpected swimmer. How the elephant found itself in the middle of the sea remains a mystery. Was it a miraculous escape or a tragic accident? One can only speculate. However, it's well known that elephants are surprisingly good swimmers. They have large, buoyant bodies, and their long trunks can function like a snorkel, allowing them to breathe while swimming. Okay, so I guess they were able to rescue him or her and get it back into the wild. All right, is TikTok different in China compared to the US? A social media analyst compares it to the opium and spinach. Although they're owned by the same company, TikTok in China offers a child-friendly version with educational videos and a time limit that isn't offered in the US. Let's take a look here. Okay, so in an interview with CBS 60 Minutes, a tech expert stated that the US version of TikTok, a Chinese-owned social media platform, is different than the Chinese version of the app. Comparing the two experiences to opium and spinach, TikTok and China, although they're both owned by ByteDance, China's version of TikTok offers a different version of social media app that isn't available in the rest of the world, especially for children. It's almost like they recognize that technology is influencing kids' development and they make their domestic version a spinach version of TikTok while they ship the opium version to the rest of the world. Yeah, it's like they want to pollute everyone else's mind around the world and try to make them look like they're the great ones. But it's no wonder that I mean, with social media just in general, all these different sites and apps, I mean, it's really tainting the minds of the youth, and I mean, not just the youth, but people in general. I mean, comparison of one to the another is just up. I mean, people don't know how to speak to each other these days. I mean, conversation seems to be lacking just between people even understanding how to have a basic conversation with people. And social media is fake. So much of it is fake. It's just, let me show what I want you to see, but not the reality of things. So then people start thinking, oh, my life is so terrible. Look at this person and they're so great. And look what I have. I don't have as much. And, all that stuff is designed to toxify the mind and toxify, children and even adults for that matter. But, if you can, stay away from the nonsense out there and don't even pay any mind to that stuff. When it comes to your identity, what does the scripture say about you and who you are in the Most High and in His Word? What other people think about you, yes, it may affect you, but don't allow it to affect you. Don't allow what other people think about you to define who you are. The Word defines who we are, not others. So let's continue. It says, how does the U.S. algorithm compare? In the U.S., TikTok is known for its addicting, personalized, and predictive algorithm, specifically tailored to the interests of whoever's scrolling. It says TikTok does not have a specific child version. Okay. All right, so definitely there's some comparisons and differences. I mean, obviously in China, they want to appeal and make it, everything look better for them than the rest of the world. So let's move on. All right, it says meet the Gen Zers struggling to stay in work or school and the parents who are at a loss of how to help. Let's see here. Let's pick a story about somebody. Let me scroll down. There's something here. All right, so data from the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas indicates that the share of disconnected 18 to 24-year-olds has been on the rise since the 1990s. While it fell a bit in the 2010s, it spiked in the 2020s and 2022. 13.2% of people in that age group were considered disconnected. Measure of America, which looks at 16 to 20 to 24-year-olds who aren't in school and aren't working, found that nearly 4.7 million young people were disconnected in 2021. And that was all around that whole time with the C word that took place, that thing with the P word that lasted for several years. So it says being disconnected from 1624 can really cast a long shadow across the whole life course, Lewis said. It can even hurt someone's future earnings and likelihood of owning a home. Yeah, so it's there's some interesting things in this article here. Let me take a look here. It says the National Center for Education Statistics found that among 25 to 34-year-olds working full-time in 2021, those who hadn't completed high school earned a median of $32,500, while those who had completed high school had a median income of $39,700. For those with a bachelor's degree, that jumped to $61,600. When kids become disconnected from school and work, there's just a downward spiral that is too often going to result Said Tim Kaine, who's introduced legislation to help at-risk youth find jobs and receive job training. All right, so if you want to see more of that, you can check that out at site called homepage. All right, if you don't want to have regrets as you get older, say goodbye to these 10 daily habits. So let's take a look at what those 10 habits are. So 1, living on autopilot. 2, neglecting to practice self-compassion. 3, letting your ego run the show. 4, ignoring your health. 5, living against your values. 6, neglecting relationships. 7, staying stuck in the past. 8, fearing change. 9, chasing happiness. And 10, not setting boundaries. So if you want to read some of the details in there, I haven't read it all, read some of this, but you can take a look at that on, get to the back, it's called Jeanette Brown, Coach Yourself to Life You Love. We're not endorsing this. We're just saying if you're going to read it, certainly that's where you can find it. All right. So it says it's the end of the entrepreneurial era as we know it. With the rise of advanced technologies and AI, are we losing all sense of the independent business person and entrepreneur? It says there's no doubt that we are coming to an end of an iconic era that has seen the huge exponential growth of entrepreneurialism. With more than 500 million entrepreneurs and 150 million startups worldwide, we are in a time that has witnessed the unprecedented rise and evolution of independent businesses or business and entrepreneurship. Now, there was a period I remember growing up where most people couldn't spell that word. When I was a teenager, I would describe myself as one, although it sounded exotic and cool. Most of the time, people didn't understand what I did or value. Okay, so let's see. All right. But is that all about the change with the rise of AI? It says the human cost of too much convenience. Let's see what they say here. All right. So yes, AI can write a dissertation for you and order your concert tickets. Machines are undoubtedly going to make life more convenient, cut down wasted time, and increase efficiency. But what will that do to our psyche, our minds, and our physique? Actually, our minds and our psyche. Our determination and our cognitive ability need to be challenged with complex physical and mental tasks daily in order to fight off aging and dementia. Yeah, that's interesting because, AI, it's so many. I mean, you watch commercials or watch or listen to, what's being put out there and even in the news and different shows. It's like, oh, AI is so great. It'll, save you from having to do this or save you from having to do that. But it's also destroying people's lives because now jobs are going to be taken away. People's ability to think and become entrepreneurs or just think through problems. People's minds are starting to deteriorate because now they're not needing to do this because technology does. I remember, years ago before, cell phones had phone numbers, I used to memorize people's phone numbers. Now I barely even know my own phone number half the time, but it's now the convenience. It is, while it can be a benefit, it also takes away our ability to do certain things that we would have had to do in the past. So it definitely prevents us from growing. But let's look at some more of this. It says, what does being an entrepreneur mean today? Let's see. I'm not going to read that. Let's see. All right. So some interesting things on here, but definitely AI is causing problems and taking away jobs and changing the way that people think or the ability to think. It says non-white pedestrians more often end up in the ER for vehicle-related injuries, report shows. So pedestrians who are not white ended up in the emergency room for traffic-related injuries at higher rates than white people, according to a new federal report published Thursday. There were more than 137,000 emergency room visits involving a pedestrian injury between January 2021 and December 2023. Asian pedestrians were in the ER 2.23 times more than white people, while black people went 1.93 times more, and Hispanic people 1.7 times more. Multiracial people or people of another race had the highest rate compared to white people at 2.47. The findings were released Thursday by CDC. The report also pointed to higher rates of ER visits for vehicle-related injuries in the 15 to 24 and 25 to 34 age groups. And men were nearly twice as likely than women to get treatment. Okay, so as you're out and about, be safe as you're crossing the streets, and just be watchful. Always have your head on a swivel anyway. All right, here's one. It says gangs in Haiti launch fresh attacks days after a new prime minister is announced. All right, gangs in Haiti laid siege to several neighborhoods in Port-au-Prince, burning homes and exchanging gunfire with police for hours as hundreds fled the violence early Thursday, in one of the biggest attacks since Haiti's new prime minister was announced. The attacks began late Wednesday in the neighborhoods including Solino and Delmas, 18, 20, and 24, located southwest of the main international airport. Since the gangs started burning everything in sight. All right, so it looks like a lot of just craziness happening over in Haiti. Certainly, it's like your heart goes out to these people because it goes from one situation to another. I mean, just like in many other parts of the world, it seems like it's tragedy after tragedy. Unfortunately, these are the days we're in these last days. All right, it says 1 month until WHO or WHO pandemic agreement usurps U.S. sovereignty. It says Americans stand just weeks away from handing over massive amounts of taxpayer funding, protective equipment intended for U.S. citizens, and an incalculable amount of influence over U.S. policy to the World Health Organization, critics warn. The global governance body will resume meetings to revise the WHO this agreement on Monday. The intergovernmental negotiating body established to draw up the text of the agreement in December. All right, let's see what else is here. All right. So looks like there's some changes coming with this whole WHO group. All right, so Kanye West goes into adult entertainment after leaving faith. I don't think he really ever left the faith. I don't think he ever joined the faith to begin with. I mean, so many jump on the bandwagon of, oh, he's a believer because he has a new album out talking about, I don't remember what it's called, Jesus something. But yeah, he definitely wasn't a believer, or at least not in the scripture, like some have thought or suggested. So it says the rumors have been confirmed that Kanye West is going into the adult entertainment business following his departure from the Christian faith. As The Independent noted, the rapper shared a video on X that announced his Yeezy porn was on the way. Following his announcement, a former adult star turned Christian is pleading that West remember his time when he declared that Jay is king. Kanye, this is not the way to go and forth. It's just like addiction. You recognize that it's bad, and then all of a sudden you go right back to it. Only a dog returns to his vomit. Yeah, so definitely not somebody that any believer should have been listening to or following, because this is not a person of belief. He's not one that is representing the Most High. He's a deceiver. So stay away from him. All right, so another bank bites the dust. We've already talked about that. It says who will be next in the dominoes to fall. We kind of talked a little bit about that already. So tsunami alert as Indonesian ring of fire. Volcano spectacularly erupts with 3-mile-high plume of smoke and ash. Let's take a look.
Situasi pagi ini jam 8.30 kembali menyemburkan asap. Jam 8.
All right, moving on. Oh, there's some more stuff Can you hear the chickens in the background making noises on this video? It's kind of crazy. All right, so a couple more to go. Monkeypox cases spike in New York City, with Big Apple averaging dozens of cases per day. It says no turning back. This Wall Street bear is predicting the biggest market crash since 1929. Here's how to prepare your portfolio if he's right. So you can look at that on Microsoft under MoneyWise. But definitely, I want to say if you realize the things as we talked about in other videos and with the banking crash, I mean, the market's going to crash as well. So again, pray and seek the Most High as to what he would want you to do in this time. All right, here's our last article. Let's take a look at this. There's a video with this. It's a few minutes long, but we'll take a look. It says Louisiana 9-year-old rewarded after giving his only dollar to millionaire he mistook for a homeless man. Let's go ahead and just watch this video.
That saying right place, right time certainly holds true for Matt and Kelvin. These guys met for the first time in March on Good Friday for what turned out to be an answered prayer to make a difference.
And right after he shoots a T-Rex.
This may be one of the best days ever for Kelvin Ellis.
On the T-Rex.
The 9-year-old on his first hunting trip for dinosaurs. You can see he is all in. This virtual experience made possible by Matthew Busbus after the two had quite an enlightening encounter a few weeks earlier. It was an early morning wake-up call in March.
The day started in a panic.
The fire alarm went off at the building where Matt lives.
So I threw on some short little hunting boots and shorts and whatever I had handy.
Turned out to be nothing.
So I was like, oh, coast is clear. Time to go get my coffee. I might as well start my day.
His favorite spot right across the street. Security video from inside shows Matt walk in wearing a backwards ball cap, place his order, then wait. Kelvin just steps away right next door at the eye care office. He's waiting too.
We hurry out the house so he can get his glasses and do what he needs to do and leave.
His dad there for an eye appointment.
I was like, oh, I'm going to go hide outside of this coffee house and go pray while I'm waiting on my coffee.
On security video, you see a customer leave. Then Matt comes out on the patio looking for somewhere quiet for his devotional time. He finds a corner spot. You see him, the top left.
I was just looking around and then I see this back way. I wanted to know what it was.
About that same time, security video shows Kelvin enter the patio. That's him in the gray sweats.
I saw chairs and I turned to my left and I see Matt in a corner praying.
Keep in mind, these two had never met. Still, as you can see on video, Kelvin was willing to take the risk and walk right up to this stranger.
I'm sitting there slowly opening my eyes and I see a kid that's about my height coming at me. And he's got gray sweatpants on, gray sweatshirt, and his hands got the big old rings on it, and his hand's coming at me. And I open more, and there's $1 bill coming at me. And I go, what? Who? What? And I was dumbfounded.
I said, excuse me, sir, are you homeless? Because if you are, here's $1.
I said, no, I'm actually not homeless. I actually live across the street in this condo apartment thing.
And then he was confused. He didn't really know what to do. He ain't take the $1 though. I'm not mad about it.
In fact, Matt offered to buy Kelvin breakfast. The video shows Kelvin walk away while Matt stays put, waiting for his new young hero to return. Kelvin had to get the okay from his dad. You see him return, and then the two head inside for that meal.
I think it was a biscuit. A biscuit, a sunny side up egg, and some cheese.
And a coffee for his dad. Kelvin says he has always wanted to help a homeless person, but never had money. So this time, with $1 in his pocket, when he saw someone he thought needed help, he was all in to make a difference.
I had money, it wasn't that much, but it could still help him get something.
Video shows them at the table, chatting about sports, first love, even heartbreak.
Hi, Kennedy, if you're watching this, your boyfriend's on live TV with ex-boyfriend.
WBRZ arranged their second meetup, and I shared the surprising news with Kelvin. The man he thought was homeless
I'm not buzzing.
is actually a multi-millionaire.
Wait, you're on Google? Like, you're that famous?
I'm on Google. I would say I'm not that famous, though.
Matt gained success in the hunting industry after launching several outdoor companies and brands with his family, including a popular TV show.
Is this your first millionaire that you've met?
First millionaire. If you're my first millionaire I met, you can lend me a couple bucks, right? Right?
I think I can lend you more than a couple bucks. I even brought you a little gift today.
Which included some very nice fashion swag. Back at Matt's store, another amazing surprise.
Go.
A 40-second shopping spree. Nothing off limits.
Time's up.
Where did Jack say like this? That's what I was looking for.
Oh man, you did good. Let's see the swag.
Check out the biggest haul. This is not one of those big box bikes.
Did you really pick out this bike?
Yes.
Do you know how much this cost?
Like $1,000? Close to $1,000? Maybe Deli?
$2,000.
And yes, Kelvin got to take it all home free. Matt says it is the least he can do for a kid who gave him something that money cannot buy.
You gave the only money in your pocket to me and thinking I was a homeless man. And that speaks volumes of your character and what this generation that's coming up, if they're more like Kelvin and they're going to give, they're going to be filled with joy, they're going to be happy, they're going to change the community, then change the parish, then change the state, and they can change the world. You have that power. You can do it.
Kelvin says he intends to do that, in fact. Someone making a difference in our community.
Very cool, very cool. Definitely want to end it on something on a better note. So it's always good to see these type of stories and those things that are definitely cool to see, rather than the doom and gloom type stuff. So we definitely appreciate you joining with us today. That was the last one that we had. As a reminder, our recent video was put out Friday around emotions and our health, part 2, discussing fear. So if you're dealing with any types of fear, if you know anyone who's struggling, we really start talking about how the emotions of the fear and chronic fear really affect our health. And we want to make sure that you're aware of this so that the changes that are needed in your life can take place, because it's vital that we as believers get fear out of our lives. Fear messes with our ability to trust the Most High and in His Word. So definitely check that out if you haven't. It's definitely a crucial one, a good one. So check it out, share it with those that are in your life as well if they're struggling. So we definitely appreciate you joining. We thank you for watching. If you haven't done so already, please like the video, please share, please subscribe. It definitely helps to reach more people for the Most High Yah. And again, thank you for watching. We appreciate you. We love you. We're praying for you all. Until next time, family. Shalom.